Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It's Monday, June 23rd here, sunny South Florida, the South Florida Conservative News Service. And we're going to talk about something that's taken up too much time already, but is so associated with the fight between the government of the United States and the socialist aggressors that one has to bring it up. And we're talking about Alligator Alcatraz, the swamp prison made for illegals to go there and become meals and prey and fight to the death and all these other things that Republicans do when they have nothing better to do than repress people, right? So we're not really afraid of your feelings. We're not afraid of any of this stuff. We're just going to talk about some very obvious things here that even the socialists can't, I can't believe they even didn't look it up. The level of research that goes into being a mindless protester these days is so small. But then again, that's what they want. They want people that just parrot their own words. So let's talk about this. Alcatraz was brought up by the Florida Attorney General, and it was a proposed immigrant detention center, and it's in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And that was put out there just the other week because the issue has been these sanctuary cities and states are really making it difficult for you to get the numbers together of criminal illegals. So what they do is they have to go into the neighborhood where the guy is and they end up picking up a bunch of other people, which upsets the populace and blah, blah, blah. That's exactly why it's done. So they say, well, we don't have anywhere to keep them all while we're giving them the uh, due process that they don't deserve 9 times out of 10 because that's how the law is. But so the Attorney General of Florida said, all right, well, we've got this facility down here and we can patch it up and we can put everybody in there. And the alligators and the poisonous snakes and everything, they'll take care of everything. So picture this is going to be in the middle of nowhere, Everglades, surrounded by snakes and alligators and protesters with Che Guevara flags and all that kind of stuff. All right. But it's never going to happen. However, the protesters are out there anyway and pretending that it is going to happen. And here's why we're going to get into this. It's not real. It's never going to be real. It is an outrage for the people that need that are now at a point where it's outrage addiction, I guess. Is it outrage outreach? No one's quite sure, but people needing to be outraged, this is another one for you. Anyone with a law degree or shovel will tell you that site is locked down tighter than, as they say, Joe Biden at a press conference. I'll skip that part. Federal wetlands laws, endangered species, no power grid, no sewage, and a legacy of environmental lawsuits going back to 1969 when it was a proposed airport for the SST and it was stopped dead in its tracks for all these reasons because Marjorie Stoneman Douglas was still alive at the time. And it has a laundry list of things that will never allow the place to open. So it's not a detention center, it's a litigation magnet. So again, why was it proposed? Because I'll tell you, this guy versus Pam Bondi is night and day because it's a brilliant political bait. It's a trap for the left, and they have walked into it. Welcome to South Florida's version of Vietnam. The Attorney General didn't need to build a prison. He needed to build a narrative, one where Florida protects its borders while the left freaks out defending chaos. And what happened? We've got protests, we've got tents, we've got people on Instagram arguing the fact about this thing. It's so blah, 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 and you call them on it because right now Florida does have an actual environmental problem. It's called the Rock Mine. It's up in Everglades and it's run by Big Sugar with a lot of governmental bigwigs behind it. That's the fight over clean water, not this thing, which they say is, but once again, it can never be done. So this is all just bullshit, right? You're just as likely to hold detainees at Disney World. Probably. Okay. So we got protests, like I said, tents, social media, chants, arrests, all over an abandoned airstrip. So this isn't a policy battle. It is the WWE for the intellectually inclined. It's optics, it's narrative warfare. The left is screaming about cruelty, and the right is grinning, saying, we haven't even broken ground yet. and they're already nuts, right? Meanwhile, real problems are going untouched. Cities are flooded with illegal immigrants. Schools are overrun, hospitals are overwhelmed, and the federal government is asleep at the wheel because at least one half of it is actively trying to overthrow the government that they are sworn to uphold. And I'm not talking about the guys working completely for Donald Trump. I'm talking about some of the other ones. The the Democrats, the libertarians right now, of course, we had that lying piece of garbage, Massey. I guess we figured Rand Paul eventually would grow to see himself become a villain. He has done that. The turtle, they're all out there doing things. So this is a distraction. But like any good distraction, it tells us what both sides care about. The left wants to look compassionate, but they're not really, because if the place was out there, it's out there. Okay. If it was out there, it would be really a hardship for everybody. But they just have to stick with the attack. Once they hear somebody's going to do something to the illegal immigrants, they have to attack it so that they look strong, because we need illegal immigrants to vote for us, as you just saw in New York, when one of the politicians actually said we have to keep them here at least till the census so that we can get more people into the Congress from the state of New York. So worst case scenario, they would be able to keep them. They want to keep them here long enough for the census. Best case scenario, they keep them here for the census and they naturalize them. I should say naturalize them so that they can vote, which means socialism forever. So don't fall for it. Keep your eyes on this one. If you're in Florida, the next detention center won't be in a swamp. Okay. It'll probably be in your backyard if the other team gets in charge of things. So that's where we stand on this. It's short, to the point. Thought you'd like it, but yeah, it used to be the International Jetway or something, I think the name was back in the old days. But if you look it up, let me find it for you real quick while we're talking. 1970, I believe, is when it was completely shut down. The idea of it, they put in one runway, and it was going to be an international airfield. It was going to be able to handle the SST at that time, was starting to come together. And here's just, this is what, when you look at things, if you're trying to see something about environmental, first thing you want to do when you're checking records, has it had a modern phase one environmental study, impact study, right? No, it didn't, but it had the pioneering environmental impact assessment, was conducted in 1969 to stop the whole thing. Okay. There was been even broader environmental assessments and remediation efforts, but nothing titled as the phase one. Okay. Because that's a particular unit. It was used to be called the Everglades Jetport, or the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport is the later name. So the whole thing was canceled in the 70s. Like I said, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is instrumental in that. And even back then, what people are going to try to tell you when you see the videos, this is what they used in 69 to shut the thing down. And it will never be open because of this. There's too much past legal evidence to ever let it open up for any reason. If it does open up, then there's something really, really wrong out there. So it threatened the natural water flow, crucial to the Everglades system, which is what they argue. However, they should be with the rest of us arguing it up at the rock mine above the lake. But they can't be involved in that because there's no illegal immigrants there to help, only taxpayers, right? This is the great thing about the socialists. They like the environment when it helps their cause. The rest of us are interested in the rock mine. We've done at least one article here. I testified. There's other guys that have done a lot of things, because we understand that overdevelopment of Florida will cause us not to have any drinking water that's useful. We'll kill the crops because we have a big agricultural area, and we'll poison the rest of the fish populations. None of these assholes that are going to be down there are worried about that. They're using environmental terms to try to make it so that they can't corral the illegal immigrants. That's the joke. It's always been the joke. Same with Greenpeace. They're all a bunch of shit, right? Because they were using that as a weapon to get to second thing. Significant threat to endangered species, concern over jet fuel storage, which there was at one point, spills and runoff into the water system. building a transportation hub in the middle of a critical habitat, required construction of roads and utility lines in pristine wetlands. So anyone who's saying those kind of things now has already read the other document and doesn't care because they knew it was unwinnable then and it is unwinnable now. There are plenty of abandoned military bases still in the state of Florida that could be used. They could go over to Alabama or Mississippi, both of which have a number of depressed areas. Link them up to the train system. They always want to make it sound like it's the 30s and 40s in Germany, right? Link them all up to the trains. But it's not going to happen where they say it's going to happen. So if somebody approaches you about donating money to fight Alligator Alcatraz, they are stealing from you, which is what's coming up now. They will be stealing from you to put money into the hands of socialists and probably terrorists. So there you go. Otherwise, have a great afternoon, and I'll talk to you later on. Bye.